Okay guys, today I'm going to be priming, putting some primer on this. You can't really see what it is because I kind of got paint all over it, but this is some good primer that I use. And I've got a little plastic cup. Where'd that go? Here it is, maybe. Oh, there we go. I'll put a little bit of this in there. Now it looks like I'm gonna put a lot because that's not the only thing I have to prime. I gotta prime the base for sure, but I also got the big piece to prime. This is my next big project that I'll be working on. I need a decent sized brush. I like to use makeup brushes. They work really, really well for what I do. Get a little bit on there and let's see if we can get this primed. Just gonna get it all over there. I don't wanna get too much on there because if it all collects one area and dries, it leaves some nasty looking stuff. As you put some thin coats of this on here, and what happens is this stuff dries pretty close and thin and gives you really, really good surface to paint on, as well as picking up all the details that might have gotten lost otherwise. So here goes nothing. Let's see if we can get this whole thing primed out. I'm not wanting to get the top done. I've already, oops, forgot that little part right there. I've already dried this, cured, all that good stuff. Let it sit for about a day or so just to make sure. And I just want to go ahead and get this thing primed so we can start painting this bad boy. Of course, right now all you see is the base and probably a lot of my hand. But once all this, I'm trying to get all this extra in here out so that it doesn't leave any weird marks or anything. Make sure there's no excess on any of this. Okay, looks pretty decent. I'm gonna let that dry, so I'll set that over here. See, turned out pretty good. I didn't paint the top of it because I'm gonna have to put glue on that. And if you try and put glue on something like that, it doesn't work as good. Now, here's the big piece. Boom, boom, boom. Hold on. Let's see if we can go back a little bit. Oh yeah, look at that. Batman Who Laughs. Okay, now I'm gonna take my time with this one a little bit slower because this is very detailed. So I wanna make sure I get in all those little spaces. All the little tiny crevices. I don't wanna get too much on the brush because then what'll happen is I'll leave these areas of like little puddles of paint, and that's not good. That's what I was talking about on the other one a minute ago. This would be better if you have an airbrush. It'd be better to airbrush this because then you get a thin layer. You just have to be careful. It's kind of like with spray paint where, you can get a pull. If you kind of stay in one area too long, it'll pull and leave like a little puddle, and you don't want that happening. So whatever you use, just make sure you're being careful, not leaving, like seeing some of these little areas it's trying to pull. So I'm trying to get that out of there so that it doesn't do that, because we don't want that to happen at all. It doesn't look good. It's not professional. Of course, never said I was professional. I like painting, and I like painting stuff for friends, people who are awesome and nice. Yeah, it's starting to pop a little bit. Make sure we don't have any of those little pulls we talked about. I'm not seeing any. Okay. Let's get this over here. Now, all priming does is it makes sure that you have a good base to paint on. Some people are like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna go ahead and paint the model without priming it first. You can, but it's most likely to chip off or peel off a lot easier. If you prime it first, the paint's gonna stick better to the model, because it's resin, it's dry, but it's still really smooth and doesn't have any way of really sticking. I've done it before, and then once I was done painting, I went to go back and look at the model, and literally the stuff would peel right off, and that's horrible. It hurts my feelings when that happens. Okay, let's get this over here. I find these bigger brushes like this are good and soft. And of course, you know, you can kind of rough them up a little bit. But if you rough it up too much, they're actually still pretty cheap and you can replace them easy. I mean, they're just makeup brushes from Walmart. I would not recommend stealing them from your wife. That's not good. I did not. She knows that I actually bought these. She actually got these for me at Walmart. So that way she's not gonna come up here and go, is that my makeup brush? Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that, gentlemen. Ladies or gentlemen, don't do that. It's not good. Get your own, they're cheap. Now don't go too cheap on brushes because like you get stuff like the arts and crafts brushes from Walmart. Those, you go too cheap on the makeup brushes too, sometimes you're gonna find that the hairs kind of like to come loose. So you have to be real careful with that. Oops, get a little bit more on there. So these I got in like a little makeup brush set, and they had all different sizes, really big ones, some medium size, and some really tiny ones that were perfect for detail. But now, see, then I start getting into this, and now I can't reach all the way back in there, so I'll have to grab a different brush here in a minute. First off, let me get all this that I can get. Oh yeah. Let's see, I want to make those, all the details in here, I want to make them just pop like crazy. So I got to be real careful to make sure none of this pulls in here. So notice I'm not dipping it in there every 5 seconds. I'm just trying to smear what I got to make sure nothing pulls. Okay, let's go ahead and get the top of this all the way around. Okay, get a little bit of this cheek over here. Make sure I got the chin. Whoops, sliding all over the place. Okay, now I'm gonna go up here to the top. Now I dipped my brush in there, but barely dipped it in because I didn't want to get too much on this. Like I said, you don't want it pulling, especially where you want most of the focus to go to. Most of the focus on this character is the face. I mean, that big old grin and all them scary little teeth, you know, creepy, man. So I'm gonna get this little headband all the way around of spikes and wonderfulness. Now obviously I can't get down in there, so I'll have to get a different brush here in a minute. But until then, I'm gonna go ahead and try and get as much as I can. Okay, get all of that. Okay, now this down here is dry enough now. That's the good thing about this primer is it dries quickly enough. But that's also why you gotta be careful about the pulling part. I know I keep saying that, I'm sorry, but I mean, I've ruined a model after like this model took, I'd say about 15 hours to print in total, between 12 and 15 hours to print, and used up about, I'd say, well, I hollowed it, but it still used up almost, I'd say, a third of the bottle of resin. And resin's not the cheapest thing in the world. I mean, it's not expensive either, but it's not really cheap. So you know, you don't want to go through all that and then mess it up with just, you know, brushing on some primer that ends up pulling in an area. So that's why I mention it over and over, because I really think it's important. Okay, sorry if I'm going off screen any. Probably am. Oh wow, I think I hit it at some point. Let's see if I can't move that back. So as you can see, I've got some areas that are thicker up here. I want to try and make sure I can smooth that out as best I can before I put it down. Oh, there's a pull right there. I can fix that. Some pulling right in here. Oh, some parts I missed. Looks like I can go back over in there and get those. Okay. Oh, where is that spike I missed? And you're going to see that you miss places here and there. But the good thing about this is that, you know, you can always go back in and fill them in however you need to. Okay, well, I'll get into that in a minute. I'll go ahead and get this back real quick while I'm thinking about it. Okay, so this obviously is going to be the easiest part because it's pretty much flat. You just have to make sure that when you get close to the edges up here, it's not going to pull over. So sometimes you have to pull it back down in. Otherwise, it will pull on the edges and leave a mess. Okay. Now, obviously, this part, I'm not really going to worry about painting a whole lot. I'm just going to kind of paint it eventually black all the way through. I know I'm painting it primer black, but in the end, I'm going to go back with, you know, probably some black and blues mixed together, maybe some grays or something to kind of give it a little bit more than just a black finish. But this is not the important part. The front is, so obviously I'm just going through this really quick. You can see how easy this makeup brush makes it. Like I said, it's just boom. I mean, just so quick. Oops, might have if I dipped it in there. Makes this so much easier. And I've got bigger brushes, but I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to get into some of these spots, and of course I still didn't. Let's see, let's get a little bit of that around here on the bottom. I'm not going to get in the hole because that's where I want the glue to set. Okay. Oh, cannot set that down yet, so I will have to lean it up against something. But now all I got to do, let me see if I can show you. Let me pull it this way. See, back in these little areas, back in here, and down there, that brush won't reach. Whoops. So I might have to get another brush, but you get the idea. That's how priming works. And we're going to be painting this bad boy soon, so stay tuned. We'll see you next time. Bye.